So we want to look at the short-run Phillips curve and understand when do we move the curve, when is there movement along the curve, and when do we actually move the curve, when is there a shift of the curve. So what's good is we can use our ASAD model and we can figure everything out. We can infer everything. So for example, this is my starting point. And this is where I am, equilibrium, it doesn't matter. This is just where we're going to begin with our exploration here. And let's say we move aggregate demand to the right. Go AD2. Well, what happens here? We see there's an increase in price levels, and there's an increase in output. Remember, if output goes up, we can infer that unemployment goes down. So on our short-run Phillips curve, what we want is, this is our starting point, I1, and I'll just call this U1. And as we can see, we have inflation that goes up, and unemployment, because output increases, unemployment goes down. So I want more inflation and less unemployment. So how do I find that? If I move along the curve, if I move my dot, here, if I move it to the right, I increase unemployment and I decrease inflation. I want the opposite. So I can just move it along, and look, I have now increased inflation and I've decreased unemployment. So when aggregate demand shifts, it's a movement along the SRPC. And you can see with aggregate demand, you can either choose unemployment and low inflation, or lower unemployment and higher inflation. That shows the trade-off. So let's look at what happens when we shift aggregate supply. So here we're going to shift aggregate supply to the right. And when this happens, my price levels drop and my output increases. And if my output increases, my unemployment decreases. So here I have inflation going down, and I have unemployment going down. If I go back, and this is I1, and this is U1, and what I want here is I want unemployment to go down, and I want inflation to go down. So if I move my dot, I go along, moving along the SRPC. I see that I'm increasing inflation and decreasing unemployment. Now I want to decrease unemployment, but I want to decrease inflation. So I go the other way, and I'm decreasing inflation, that's good, but I'm increasing unemployment. There's no way here I can get both. The only way to lower inflation and lower unemployment is to shift the SRPC inside. So it's a leftward shift. When there's a right shift of aggregate supply, there's a left shift of the short-run Phillips curve, and vice versa. And something to help you remember, supply, shift, and short-run Phillips curve all start with S. So when the supply curve shifts, the short-run Phillips curve shifts. It'll shift in the opposite direction. You don't need to remember that, because if you graph it, you can see, oh, decrease inflation, decrease unemployment. And if I shift it to the left, let's say, I'll do a quick one here, AS2, I can see that now I have inflation, this is stagflation, and I have unemployment. So now I've increased inflation and increased unemployment, and the only way to get that back is then to shift the short-run Phillips curve to the right, the opposite